welcome to our final roundtable where we're really talking to our patient advisors about their experience. I'm going to turn it over to Cynthia Chauhan to introduce herself.
Hello, I'm Cynthia Chauhan. I've been with the patients program since about 2013. And I think it is just one of the most amazing experiences. The focus on community engagement, and not just engagement, but equal representation, is fantastic. So I'm just really happy to be a part of this program.
Thank you, Cynthia. Gail?
Hi, I'm Gail Graham. I'm the director of Mount Lebanon Baptist Church HIV/AIDS Outreach Services, as well as the global representative for Johns Hopkins University AIDS Clinical Trials Research Team, and a proud patient professor for the University of Maryland Patients Program. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Patterson?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is DeJuan Patterson. I'm a proud partner, advisor, and a senior consultant with the Bridge Advisory Group, a consultant firm in which I found to help institutions and private companies better connect and understand their community stakeholders.
Thank you. And Jeff?
Hi, I'm Jeff Wells. I'm met the patients program 5 years ago as I got involved in helping with research, and they have opened my eyes, they've opened doors for me, and more importantly, they've opened their hearts so that I feel very powerful, very strongly about this powerful mission.
So a lot of the people in this meeting, I see a lot of familiar faces. Some of you, have heard some of your stories before, but could you share what your journey was to being a patient advisor, to being a patient's professor with our team? Cynthia, if you'd like to go. If not, anyone else can chime in.
I met Daniel Mullins at a PCORI meeting sometime around 2012, and he and I talked about what he was doing and going to do, and I thought it was exciting, and so I joined up with him on this fantastic journey.
I also met Dr. Mullins in 2012, I think, when he came to Mount Lebanon Baptist Church. And initially, I kept telling him no, was not interested, didn't want anything to do with the patients program. But thankfully, they did not give up on me. And after they attended one of my events for World AIDS Day, testing for turkeys, and I saw the empathy and compassion they had with my community, and the fact that they really showed in more than just one way how they really cared for our community, then I said, okay, I'm going to give them a chance. And I watched them, and they built trust with me and my community, and they became trustworthy. And from that point on, I said, okay, you got me. And I stuck with them, and thankfully they stuck with me. And as we go along this with this roundtable, you'll see the many different things that I was able to accomplish thanks to the patients program.
Jeff, you can go ahead if you want to.
I met the patients program about 5 years ago. A nurse asked a group of trauma survivors if we would talk to doctors about a study they were proposing. And it was what I found out later at the patients program. And they just kept opening doors and introducing things. Instead of saying, we're the patients program and you should do this because we told you, they said, do you want to do this? Let us see if we can make this happen. And they, before I knew who they were friends. They became friends. So I'm currently involved in helping with a couple of studies, and whatever the patients program calls, I answer the phone instead of letting it go to voicemail. They are friends.
So if anyone in our audience has a question, you can put it in the chat. You can raise your hand. We'll call on you and we can field your question. So, you talk about you're talking to Dr. Mullins, you're talking to other people in the patients program, and they say, would you like to be a patient advisor? What are some things that you had to do to prepare, that you felt you needed to do to prepare for this role? What did you need to do to give yourself some confidence in this role as a patient advisor?
This is Cynthia.
Yep.
I was already doing a fair amount of volunteer work in clinical trial research in cancer. And what the program I was working with was really focused on engagement with communities, but it didn't have the same qualitative focus that this program has of actually engaging with the lived in community rather than just the professional community in the different areas. So that was a step in a learning for me that just made so much sense. That yes, what do the people need, want, understand, and how can we work together instead of utilizing them for our own needs? So that to me was what was impressive and was a new approach.
And I had to realize the power of my voice. And I didn't. And thankfully, the patients program, Dr. Mullins and his wonderful team kept encouraging me and reminding me of the power of my voice and to speak up. And part of that was in being a part of different advisory boards. And when I'm on the advisory boards, it's never, when you are a part of the advisory board, it's a multitude of people of different backgrounds. So when you have doctors or you have executives, it's never Dr. So-and-so or Mr. So-and-so. It's Gail and Frank and Daniel. So it makes you feel comfortable. And so you're able to express your opinions, and your opinions are valued. And so that, help strengthen my voice. And then when I keep forgetting that I have a voice, I'm always being nudged to speak up. And it's, now that I realize that I have that voice, I have to remember to be quiet, because when I do speak up, next thing I know, Dr. Mullins is giving me something else to do. So that's one thing I learned, and I'm thankful for.
Thanks, Gail. DeJuan, Del, we'll go and come to you real quick. Del is another one of our patient advisors.
I would say that one of the things that was helpful to me is that I met Daniel at a gospel choir cookout, also associated with Mount Lebanon Baptist Church. And so, of course, I had no idea that he would be lurking there with a video camera and ready to pounce on people who opened their mouths and said something that he thought was absolutely interesting. He had set up the camera in a far off corner in the rest of the house while we were walking through with macaroni and cheese and fried chicken and all that stuff. And so then what he asked me was, would I feel comfortable on camera? Well, of course, you guys that know me know that was an easy answer. But the reason is I come with a background in public policy. And I was at that time working on redevelopment activities in the city of Baltimore. And so I'm comfortable working with and talking to public groups. But I also found that he was very interested in some of the activities that I did because I was used to working within the community. And he ended up borrowing some of the things that we use as a strategy for doing community outreach and incorporating that into the public, the PCORI programs. And I just found that fascinating. It was very flattering for him to be able to modify what we were using in a community outreach program on a regular basis and have it work within this setting, which you got to remember, my initial contact was with pharmacy students and with the University of Maryland, and have it all work. It was absolutely beautiful to see. And of course, as somebody has mentioned, it wasn't Dr. So-and-so this or so-and-so that. It was Daniel, it was Gail, it was Hillary, and that's how we started working then. It was Cynthia. From then forward, And that's how we continue to work. And so I like that we were all respected. We were all on the same floor. We were all working in community. And one of the things that I say often, for those of you who are coming along and still getting there, if you can use a role model, I'd say Daniel is an absolutely terrific role model when it comes to translating formal research or scientific language into everyday words of wisdom. If you can have anybody, because I can see him when somebody says blah, 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 very technical, and he'll see somebody else's face scrunch up. He'll see me scrunch up. He'll see Jeff scrunch up, and he'll immediately translate what that person just said so that it's everyday language. And I so appreciate, number one, that he can do that and that he does it without hurting anybody's feelings. Isn't that a wonderful skill? So thank you guys for listening to that. But I think that's part of what makes this program so wonderful.
Thank you so much,
To
Del.
underscore what Del just said, I think the patients program models through its own behavior what really works well. And that's that equal respect, equal engagement. And they don't just talk the talk, the patients program walks the walk. And if
Yes,
you're
it does.
building such a program, that is absolutely important. So Del, thank you for bringing that up. That's really,
Thank you,
really
Cynthia, and thank you, Cynthia, for being such a strong advocate in the community, and Jeff for being able to say, I've been there on the other side. It didn't work this way, but it works this way. That's wonderful to be able to have you there. DeJuan is always telling us how she's been out in the community and taken people to help them learn how to do these things and what the skill is. And I love how she just hauled people up to Camden, New Jersey and dropped them off in the street and said, go for it. And then we'll pick you back up in a couple of hours and let's see what you got, okay? That was an amazing thing to do because I know Camden, okay? Thank you.
And now Camden knows her.
DeJuan, Patterson, I know you dropped off for a minute. Wanted to let you come back in and talk a little bit more about your journey as a patient advisor and kind of how you went on that journey.
My journey being a patient advisor started from a place of resistance. And I will just give that counter side of it, being invited to participate in the patients program, a community event, something that was connected to my passion is where I begun. And I thought it would just stop there. However, Dr. Mullins reached out to see how we can explore a continued partnership, and I declined. And it took me probably about 3 to 6 months before I started to nudge a little bit. And that was because I knew that I had a responsibility for a community in which I represent. And it come from being an individual, coming from a community in Baltimore who have a generational level of institutional mistrust. I knew that I had to hold that trust in a delicate way because something we all know, trust is difficult to build, but easy to destroy. And from that level of understanding, I say, let's go ahead and walk this walk and figure out how can this be mutually beneficial and also acknowledge some of the harm that was done and how we got to the place of institutional mistrust on both sides, community and institutional partnership. That partnership evolved once I started to see the shift in agenda setting, inclusion, and hiring, executive decision-making. And one pivotal moment was the patients program has annual patients day where they have a lot of presentations, panel discussions, resource sharing, and just this bio-learning opportunity. And once there was an opportunity to include more local vendors to participate in the patients program and overall the University of Maryland procurement process, that that showed the community that they are not only just asking them to participate in research, but also they will reinvest inside of their community based on the community needs and services that they're providing. So that was a key, one of the key moments for me during this journey, and supporting, reinvesting in community throughout the process.
You know, DeJuan, and Jeff, I'll come to you in just a second, but when I framed this question initially, the question was like, well, you're going into an unfamiliar territory as a patient advisor, going into an unfamiliar environment with unfamiliar people. But really, you know, what we're modeling here with the patients program is that you aren't coming in as a complete stranger. The patients program has already been in the community, has made those connections, has demonstrated, you know, trust and trustworthiness. And so we had the question in the chat by Yvette, you know, what sorts of things need to happen for you to be fully comfortable? And that's the kind of the question I was getting at. What needed to really happen? And DeJuan, you mentioned that really well, and Gail as well. Like, I don't know who you are, but this group of people came in and said, we're going to show you who we are. As Cynthia and Del said, walk the walk, and we're going to make you comfortable and treat you as an equal and treat you as an expert. So that when you do come in, it's not a culture shock. It's not a, well, you know, I'm the doctor and you don't know what you're talking about. It's building that out in the first place.
I think another aspect of that is going into the community, asking questions instead of offering whatever you think is wonderful about yourself, but going in and saying, what do you want? What do you need? How can we be a part of your community that is meaningful and useful? So right out, not going in as, I have this wonderful thing to offer you, you lucky people, but instead, how can we work together to get what you need for your community? How can we join and be community together?
Right, and making the community better off. You know, making sure that your community, you know, that what they do is benefiting the community, and all the way through, not just the one-time thing. And then you just look at how it affected the community, if it does anything for it, if it's a continual thing, and how the community responds to them. And it's to the point where our community 21215, anytime we have anything, they are looking for the patients program. They're not looking for the patients program to come with a gift card or anything. They're looking for the patients program to hang out with, because that's the type of relationship that they built. Everybody in that program actually comes and sits with people, and they get to know the community. So the community looks for them and they enjoy being around them. Even to the point where Dr. Mullins is breaking down boxes and with his little t-shirt and everything. You know, they love that. And they actually became a part of the community itself. So when you see that, and you know, again, that's that built trust that's there. So that makes a big difference.
You're so right, Gail. And I'm thinking about with Daniel, he never goes in, and patients never goes in saying, what can you do for us? Or we have this wonderful thing to give you, but really wanting to be part of the community. And I know that he goes on Saturday walks with folks, and people know him as Daniel, and he knows people in the community. And I'm using him as an example. I think that's true of all of the patients, people, but let's just pick on Daniel today.
And I think DeJuan Monroe had something to say at one point. So I'm sorry, DeJuan.
Not today. I'm good. I'm just.
If I may, I'll add another layer to it of a key examples. When it comes down to meetings, sometimes as a patient advisor and a patient advocate, formerly or currently a caregiver, similar to what Gail was mentioning earlier about eliminating this feeling of intimidation or discouragement based on titles, academic or career experience. One thing that the patient's team does a great job doing is making themselves accessible before the meeting or before the event for you to have any expression of concerns, questions, reactions, or feedback pre and post that level of engagement. And I say this, sometimes we see this as a moment where you overlook this, but this is really, really important because sometimes people may not be forthcoming with their vulnerabilities and insecurities. So if you initiate the safe space where someone could be transparent, those little things means a lot. It's similar to like Yvette said inside the chat box, those little things makes a huge difference, and it does. Because someone may now feel better prepared to contribute, to feel valued, feel respected, and empowered to make a difference. So I will make sure we echo that and show some love to the remaining parts of the patients team, because they do a great job. When Daniel not in not on the email or not in the meeting, they do a great job of hitting you on the side chat, hitting you on the text message, the email, a phone call, check in with their partners from the community. And that piece is really vital for maintaining trust and credibility with the levels of community partners.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Gail.
I'm sorry. And one thing for me personally, when I was diagnosed with HIV, I wanted to learn as much as possible about that disease. And I wanted to be able to go to everyone so that I could help and inform them and prevent other people from having to deal with the different things I was dealing with. But I didn't know how I was going to do that. It was just an idea, and I didn't have any experience with it. I didn't know how to speak publicly. None of that. I didn't know anything about making videos or anything. And then I met the patients team. And the next thing I know, I was getting encouraged to, speak nationwide. I was speaking with Karen Morales, and she was right there encouraging me, saying, Gail, you can do this, and so I was able to do that. And then I had Eric, who, has been doing videos. And, he said, we sitting there, we'll be talking, and, and you're not realizing at one point that you're making a video is just so comfortable. And then the next thing you know, you got YouTube's videos out there. So they made everything just so easy. And, so now I'm a national speaker, and I never even thought that I would be able to do that. I have videos out there. I never thought I would do that. I have an article out there on the British Medical Journal. I never knew what BMJ meant. I thought it was the Baltimore Medical Journal. I didn't know it was the British Medical Journal, but I was able to do something to that level. And it was all through the help of everyone on the patients program. So,
Yeah, Gail, I think if there's one thing they say to us over and over, it's you can do this, and we're here to help you do it. There's just a really supportive atmosphere. And back to DeJuan's point, if I happen to miss a meeting, I get a call, I get a note, I get copies of what went on. There's just this engagement imperative that is a real part of being a true community engaged group.
Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Gail. Go ahead, Jeff.
I walked into this as a part of the Ussens community, and I was always leery of the demons. Anybody that is different, I'm unsure of. And I'm very unsure of people in lab codes or medical garb, medical jargon that I don't understand. Laying in the bed, my own personal evaluation was I did not like somebody that did not look at me, but looked at the instruments. The machines were beeping, but they didn't care about the patient. The patient's program looked at us not as diseases to be diagnosed, but as people to be healed. And I think that's the difference in what we want to bring to research, that we're not looking at a peer-reviewed journal article, we're looking at information that can help people. And we're trying to bring that humanity back to it. so that it's all us'ns and no them'ns.
Thanks, Jeff. Adele, do you have a comment?
I do. I want to, Jeff made me think about something I think of its real value here, and that is that the program mentors folks. It mentors other people who are coming through the system. That's what Gail was pointing out. She didn't know how to do public speaking, and now she's a nationally and international public speaker. And that happened because of I think the innate generosity of the people involved in setting up this program. The fact that there were students who were the initial folks I encountered in the program who were pharmacy students means that they were mentored through the program. They in turn are now mentoring others out there in the world. There was a question in the chat, is this going on in other states? I think it is, but I don't know as much information about that. I would have to turn to Karen, or I would have to turn to Joe to get you guys to say how it is spreading in other states, because we are partners with universities in other jurisdictions. So yes is the answer, but I'm not as familiar with that. But what I am familiar with is how, without saying so, the program is built and it inspires young people to assist and come through it, and as their professional careers are developing and emerging. So you have people involved in this program at all ages, from when they're initially in school all the way through postdoc, post-school researchers, and there are people out there who are in the companies, who are in the drug and pharmaceutical companies as well, who are watching what we're doing, who are partners in different parts of these program activities. That is unstated. It's such an understated feature of our activities. The fact that we mentor, that we uphold, that we are multi-racial, multi-generational, those are all our strengths. Those are our strengths.
Thanks so much, Del. Some really good thoughts, really good reflections on that. And kind of a little bit part of a question that was asked earlier. Many of you are patients, you are patient advisors. What was it like, and Gail touched on this, sharing your story about your disease, your recovery, whatever it might be? How was it when you're able to connect with other people that may share the same thing that you're going through?
I think the biggest thing for me, I have a number of complex and some untreatable diagnoses. And when I speak to other patients, the fact that I'm still alive and functional is huge. And I bet Gail runs into that a lot too. I've had 2 cancers. I have a untreatable kind of heart condition. But I'm still here and I'm still doing stuff. And I think that is the most important thing that I give, that yes, we can stay alive, we can function.
I agree. It's a humbling experience. For me, my tagline is, living a long and healthy life. I'm undetectable. And when I was first diagnosed, I never thought that I would live a long and healthy life, or I would be undetectable. And now here I am. And to be able to tell people about it and educate them about it, and to tell them that I actually, participated in research, and to tell them about how far research has come, and, to encourage them to be a part of research themselves really makes a difference. And again, I'm just humbled by it, and I'm just thankful. So when I hear people say that they saw the video or they ask questions about it, I think of my disease now no longer as a disease, but a blessing, because now I have a purpose, and I'm hopefully making God proud by trying to fulfill it.
Gail, I want to give you some feedback. I've known you since you joined the program. And when I think of you, I think of an incredibly beautiful butterfly that emerged from a cocoon. You've just been extraordinary.
Thank you.
Wow.
Jeff or DeJuan, did you want to
One of
respond to that question?
one of the thoughts that I've had for myself is that while I want to go on this journey that has brought me from being unfocused to being focused, not knowing where to place my energies, but I also want to bring along people with me, or show them the opportunities that are out there. I regularly visit patients at multiple hospitals in Baltimore, Annapolis. I see patients in the bed, and I do not tell them about studies. I just say, my life, this is my journey. Your journey may not be the same, but what I learned is that life changes, but it's not over. I want to reflect the voice that I hear, the questions that I hear, the fears that are expressed to me. And sometimes the only answer that I can give is that I can stare at the wall with you. I don't have an answer. There isn't an answer for everything, but I know what I went through, and I know that it was helped by shoulders for me to cry on. So I want to normalize not understanding, but being able to learn. So that's kind of the focus or the mission that the patients program has helped me follow.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jeff. It's a really great response, and you've mentioned that before, of being able to talk to people that are in the same situation. DeJuan, did you I don't know if you had a chance to?
I'm recalling the question as we speak, discussing a recovery journey and or sharing about how those experiences impact others, correct?
Yeah, it is. Yes.
So my journey is kind of twofold. I recovered from a severe gunshot wound to the head, and I was not properly prepared medically for my own recovery. I was not prepared to advocate for myself when it came down to communicating with my family, the school system, or any other public servant institution. And from that experience of feeling disempowered, alone, and scared, it propelled me to get in the space that I am today, preventing other people from feeling disempowered, disrespected, and alone, to the point that now I'm always out there trying to educate not only community folks or patients, but also the institutions who serve them. And every part of my journey is a level of education and empowerment, and it's bi-directional. The people in which you serve and the people in which you serve and the institutions who serve those people is in need of that level of capacity building, so to speak. Given that, and also understanding that I've been a very young adult caregiver for a few members, relatives as close to my family who suffer from terminal illnesses, and noticing sometimes they don't feel empowered or informed enough to properly advocate for themselves. And that constantly ground me, also inspire me to keep on going in this journey to not only advocate for them, but create more informed, empowered advocates and leaders so that impact can be scaled beyond smaller neighborhoods, statewide, nationally, globally, so we can see more leaders like the ones you see in front of you.
Martin, did you have a comment or question?
I actually just wanted to answer your question, Joe, just about my own journey, and I'll try to make it brief. If that's okay. Is that appropriate? So I've been in this program really just soaking everything in as a patient advocate. really briefly, about 4.5 years ago, I was diagnosed with very low risk prostate cancer. And I hadn't really a clue as to what kind of world I was stepping in. I went through periods of intense anxiety and fear. And it wasn't really until, and even though I had advocated for my parents when they were passing in 2012, it's a different animal when I was trying to advocate for myself. And so what I did was I immediately joined support groups, online support groups, live support groups. I researched, but even if that wasn't, that was fine, but I actually needed to hire a patient advocate all the way on the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast. And he was talking, for several months, he was talking me through doctor's appointments, what I needed to do here, what I needed to do there. And I just, I'm a researcher throughout my life. So, I just took up the gauntlet. And in the prostate cancer world is pretty tricky. As my primary care physician would say, it's a cluster fill in the blank. Because there's so many people with so many competing interests. There's money, there's over-treatment. It's a bit tragic that 25 years ago you be diagnosed with something like I had, and they ripped men's prostates out. Especially, and this especially affected, the African American community, because African American men have a much higher percentage of contracting prostate cancer early in their ages. And so, in any case, to sort of move it along, what happened over the past 4 years was that my participation in the support groups helped me to be able to, to research, to go to many different centers throughout the country, talk to different doctors, get many opinions, and then I joined an organization that a nonprofit that's run by patients. And we're a small board. We're all volunteers. We have no staff. We're all patients in various degrees of this state of active surveillance, which is kind of just monitoring our prostate cancer for more aggressive tumors. And so there was a lot of comfort for me in being, with men who, went through the same thing that I did, and that's what happens. There are men who, face their doctors and they get this news and, they freak out. They hear the C word. And so I'm really wanting to dedicate the rest of my days to, being an advocate, even trying to some way wedge myself into men's health and educate men before they're even, before they even get tested with a PSA test, which is the first biomarker for men. Yep. So, in any case, that's my goal. And so I think I answered your question, Joe, about how, what happened with me and how I'm, people are calling me for advice. People are calling me, I don't give medical advice, but people are calling me for suggestions, where to research. I tell them, about clinical trials, the latest studies. So, this has just been a gold mine, and I'm so grateful for the Academy and hope to have a long relationship with it. Thanks.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, and going back to our panel with your experiences, what were some success stories as a patient advisor? What was something that really resonated with you as a success in this role?
I guess I would start, and it coincides with a question that Paul placed inside the chat box in reference to how do you overcome difficult patients, community members who didn't want to participate or cooperate as an advocate for them. You may have heard me reference this particular project before in one of our previous discussions, but it was a project working with the patients program in the FDA, helping to understand the perspectives and attitudes of underrepresented communities as it relates to communication for COVID-19 testing. And within that project, you had perspectives from community members, initially engaging them that was well-deserved skepticism and a level of mistrust. However, I knew that their perspectives, beliefs were valuable to the discussion. And what I had to do was keep probing, keep engaging, and acknowledge the past experience, validate that experience. You're right. You're entitled to your feelings of however you feel, sad, angry, hurt, whatever that may be. Acknowledge that exists, that took place. Then, and there's no cookie cutter timeline of how this thing happens. Just put that out there. Acknowledging the past experience, acknowledging the current position which the people are in. And some of these people are my family members. You know, here I am, have a positive, a more informed outlook on the value of participating in research like this. And they don't. So it's up to me to not only acknowledge their experiences, validate it, have someone accept responsibility, and also showing people that someone is accepting responsibility for the wrongdoing of their experience. And then during those times, people's like, oh, all right, you never know how much those small things have huge impact and return on investment. Then from there was a level of trust that, hey, maybe I could step forward to work with you. Now, how will this be mutually beneficial? So some of my community members had to find a way that this could be mutually beneficial, and which they saw is like, how can I prevent these experiences from happening from someone like me and someone coming from similar vulnerable communities and populations. So that was the level of alignment. The FDA, the institutions wanted to do better, and participants and patients want to be a part of that solution to bring forth that level of change. And that was that level of alignment. It would be different based on who you're talking to. Lastly, I would say part of my unique formula with the Bridge Advisory Group is arriving there together, reaching your destination together, because both parties want to be at that desired outcome and destination. And once you arrive somewhere together, you feel like you took the journey together. So there's a level of commitment, trust, and shared vulnerability where we learned to get here. So hopefully that was a great example of why I've seen that it was a positive experience of some of those things demonstrated, to see family and community members moving from the skeptic side of things to being a program, initiative, champion, and a recruiter.
And, along those same lines, DeJuan, when I was thinking about that, I think if I go in with the idea of how I can change you, the first thing I need to look at is, what do I need to change about myself that I am going in with that paternalistic attitude? I need to understand you, and hopefully through my learning to understand you, you can gain some understanding of me, and together we can grow. So being equal partners, even if I can't see why you're where you are right now.
And I look at the success of the trust that's built within my community. We were so used to helicopter research, people just coming in and taking from us. And now to see my community actually benefiting for the patients program to actually come in and listen to what they were saying. Our community had a food desert. So they helped us with providing a connection to the Maryland Food Bank, where at different times we were able to provide drop-off of produce. Built trust, as DeJuan was saying about the COVID. During a time where everybody was skeptical about doing the COVID shots, we had a COVID clinic, and we ran out of the vaccine. That's how many people showed up, because they built the trust. We knew that the patients program was there, and so we trusted the patients program. And so it's different things like that. But we have health fairs. The patients program actually provided all of that stuff for us. They became sponsors for our World AIDS Day Testing for Turkey program, where we were able to give out whole turkeys for anybody who got tested. So they help provide a lot of different things. So when you see that, and you see the community telling them the different things they need, and then they help to provide it, whether they provide it or they give us the resources so that we can help provide that for our community. That makes a difference. That's a success story for us, for me personally.
I saw a change yesterday. Along with other patients, I went to some researchers that were proposing a new study. But in addition to the goal of having results published, we want to set up a website for the patients that were involved and have our magazine writer write an article to the patients about what was learned. So it's not just about the medical community learning, but the patients learning what they gave us, what we learned from what their experiences were. And it came from them instead of me saying you should do this. So there is a change. It's gradual, but just like the change in smoking habits or wearing seatbelts, all of a sudden people don't remember what it was like before. I grew up not wearing seatbelts and laying under the rear window. That just does not happen. There are childproof seats, and there are millions of people alive because they don't do what I did. So I'm seeing change happen.
Thanks so much, Jeff. Yeah, going into public places and there not being smoking anymore, you wonder, like, how did I live with people smoking indoors before? Why were we doing this before? So for those of you, some people on this call are in our inaugural Patients Professors Academy. You had some questions in the chat about, are there other places doing this? Our Patients Professors Academy, the people that are on this panel, were really integral in building that academy and deciding what the curriculum was going to be. And this is kind of our attempt to share what we're doing at the Patients Program that our panel has detailed and discussed to a wider, national and hopefully international audience. So with that question in mind, this question came from our audience before the roundtable. Talk about that experience of building the academy and being involved in, sharing what the Patients Program has done, what you have done. What was it like being a part of building the academy?
It was intimidating because, again, never doing anything like this. I didn't want to make any mistakes because, again, this was just something completely new, out of my range. But I'm so proud of everything that was built. We had a great team. Everybody behind the scenes, Joe, Kate, Hillary, everybody just, and Karen, and anybody that I'm missing, I'm sorry, but just that team that help encourage us and help us build everything together. And then the professors themselves, with, the way that we came together, I think was great. And so we were, together, we were so honored to do this. And the fact that we hope to continue it and add to it, but we want to build on some of the things that you've learned and you think that we may have missed, because we want to build on it. And we want to learn from your experiences also. So your feedback means a lot to us, because, you are teachers to us. We don't know everything. We're still learning also. So together, now that you're on this journey with us, and you're becoming patients professors, seriously, you're our family. So we're continuing to learn together. So, Del.
The first thing I remember about the patients program is they truly meant and lived that the patient's voice and the community's voice matter as much as any other. And the inclusiveness from the very beginning, at that time, it was rather startling. Now I expect it.
I would add that one of the things that is a challenge for me now is the fact that I'm in a rural area. I'm in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, having come here from Baltimore, where I was surrounded by people in this program wanting to know my 2 cents worth, both at the local level, at the researcher level, at the staff level, and then among my colleagues. Now I'm in a community where often I find I'm involved in both genealogical research, Black history. I'm also involved in social services advisory board and local political stuff. There are people, I'm in the area where you guys may have seen one guy responded to a local town manager, a town council member, responded to our current vice president of the United States by calling her Aunt Jemima. So I'm in that community. And so therefore, I have a challenge within the official governmental agencies, both at the town level, at the county board of supervisors level, at the planning commission level, at all the places where you would see health programs, community-based programs come together on behalf of the community with local, state, and federal dollars. That I'm in an area where people, they didn't even condemn him for saying that. They basically looked the other way. Virginia is also notorious for being very polite. They are the state in which they'll say, bless your heart. All right. And you know that behind that, there's other stuff going on. So the challenge for me here is how to stay on the straight and narrow. You guys, I feel embraced when I'm on these phone calls. I'm getting thumbs up, I'm getting hand claps, and I'm getting, atta girl, you do it. But as my mother, who's in hospice at this point, and my daughter and I continue this quality life, we have a high quality life in terms of the physical location. We have a very high quality life in terms of resources available to us, but it's not universal. It doesn't exist out there for a lot of other people. And you guys are among the people who level the playing field. You guys are the ones who help lift us up. I'm hoping that our example, the work that we're doing together there and with our partners, say in Hawaii or in California or in Michigan and the other places that has focused on patient-centered outcomes research, I'm hoping that we develop such a strong model that it eventually can kind of wave over here into the hollows of the Blue Ridge Mountains, and that we set a model that folks can't afford to ignore. People here need to have, the users of the system need to be able to hold their leadership accountable, but they're not able to do that just yet because of people are escaping responsibility and accountability. I don't want you to feel sorry for me. I'm not giving up the fight. I just may say, oh, y'all get on the bus one day. I need you over here in Page County. Come on now. I may have to do that. I may have to have a DeJuan version going to Camden, New Jersey again down here. But the bottom line is this research, this effort at the Baltimore level, you guys are only 2 hours and 15 minutes away, means it's going to drift here. I'm going to talk about it. I'm citing it on a regular basis. And I want you to know that that's how important you are to me. Martin's telling his story. I've got questions for him. I want to know, well, gee whiz, I mean, what is the instance of this happening among African-American men just aged this age? And I want to know because I've got my cousins here I'm worried about. I want to know how we're going to get them involved in learning more. Is there any behavioral stuff we can do to help? I want you guys to know that you're a part of my network going forward. Just understand, you may get something out of the chat from me saying, what's your email address, please? Thank you very much, because that's how important I see you, all right? And if I don't get it from you directly, I'm gonna send it to Joe and he's gonna email it out and he's gonna say, y'all know she's on my case. Come on now. But thank you for this research, primarily because I'm looking for us to continue to set the example. I know you guys know that. I know Hillary knows it. You know, I know Kate knows it. I know Gail knows it. I know you guys know that you're setting an example at the national level. I just wanted to drift out sooner and quicker and faster. That's the kind of work we're doing. Am I not right, Karen Morales? I don't know where you are. Is that not right, Karen? All right.
Yes, 100%.
Gail, this is Cynthia. I'm from the Deep South, and I want to affirm your perception that Southern politeness is poisonous. I understand and feel your pain for what that's worth.
I am too, and I agree with you. It sounds beautiful, but at the same time, it's not entirely straightforward. So
You don't want
and
anybody
that
to
was an
say, bless your
understatement.
little soul.
It's like, it's, well, bless your heart.
Yeah, that one too.
Yeah.
Royce, where are you?
I'm in Ashland, Virginia, between Richmond and Fredericksburg, and that's
Okay,
where
so you're my
that's where
neighbor then, dude.
that's where I live. But for up until June, for the past 24 years, I've been working in Columbia, Maryland,
Okay.
in specialty pharmacy and home infusion, and as an administrator in a managed care program. So.
Well, thank you, Royce. But you know what? You're almost a neighbor, so I'm gonna be looking for you.
Okay. That's fine with me.
I'm in Luray. I'm in the
sure.
valley. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Uh-oh.
And that valley may not know it yet, but it is much richer because you're there, Dale.
Yeah.
Okay. Cynthia, you just keep on those compliments coming. Gail got hers. I got mine now. Yay!
I'm just a truth teller, that's all.
Yes, you are.
Jeff or Gail, or DeJuan, did you have any other experiences about, Gail shared, but about, working on the academy and being a part of that creation process to share with other people?
Probably the thing that really resonates with me about the academy and almost every engagement with the patients program is they don't tell me, but they help me face my fears and move forward. Now let me sit in the back row and let somebody else do all the work, or let somebody else think about this, and my opinion isn't important. And all of a sudden, I'm right in the middle of doing things with people that really are teaching me and giving me the energy and making me want to see things through. So somehow the group gives power that I did not, it gives me strength that I did not know that I had. Doing research, looking at the videos, reading the papers that other people supported. That taught me a lot.
Go ahead, DeJuan.
Thanks, Jack. I will add some of my experience consists of feeling the pressure to do this thing right, knowing that there's a great deal of responsibility to all of the stakeholders, whether it's the institutions, the researchers, patients, caregivers, community leaders. It's like doing this thing right was one of the biggest like sentiments that I would say and share throughout my journey of helping to co-create this academy, seeing how all the pieces work together and making sure that it's very inclusive of the experiences that I've observed prior to the academy. It's like, oh yeah, make sure it's this. And anybody knows that I'm very passionate about innovation and expansion. I'm that in person. I was like, oh, how can we do this thing better? Are we missing something? I may cast a light on an area that may have been overlooked. I'm that person. So being a part of a team that values that level of autonomy and inclusion was really, it was really necessary for me. And there was a level of alignment that helped me grow and helped to see some great things come about and what you have seen thus far, and looking forward to year 2 as well.
Thank you so much. So we are winding down a little bit here. I guess, a lot of people have asked in the chat and throughout the academy, kind of what's next? What can we do to take this to the next level or take my skills to the next level? We are working on that, but I'm curious from the 4 of you, what is something that you are looking forward to going forward, whether it's related to the academy, whether it's something in your own work, something related to patient-centered outcomes research. What's something that you have on the horizon that you are kind of building towards and you're excited to work on and to share?
I'm excited to work with all new partners. With whatever new ventures that they have and they would like to partner with us on. So that's a new adventure for us, and to broaden the aspect of the patients program, because I'm willing to learn from them too. So that's new for me. I'm always eager to learn more things and do, Dr. Mullins isn't on this call, is he? But I'm eager to learn and do more things. So that's for me, that's what I'm happy about. So yeah.
Jeff?
I want to add something from my family. We have a family rule, and I want to share it with everybody and see how many people agree with it. And that is, if a child hands you a toy telephone, you must answer it and you must have a conversation. It's that respect for that person for where they are. And that's that illustration. My brother and I have a competition as to who can make the silliest conversation that the child will giggle at. And I want to share, in addition to research and studies, smile, enjoy, and share smiles and pleasantness. Make the world better. It's not as gloomy as all the news tells us. And it does not need to be gloomy for kids.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, I think that's something that comes with being a part of the patients program, is this optimism about what can be and what we can do to help make the world better. Small things matter. And I think there is an optimism in being part of the patients program that is sustaining and enlightening.
Thank you, Cynthia. Were there any, and DeJuan, I don't know if you had a response to that, kind of what you have kind of on the horizon.
Yeah, I'm kind of echoing what Gail said. I'm looking forward to future opportunities of collaboration with our new team members, members of our community, and that is multi-stakeholders, because just cohort and experience, I'm hearing and observing a lot of opportunities coming up inside the chat box and throughout our conversation. I'm looking forward to scaling the level of meaningful impact and in a very equitable way. And I think that we have great potential and opportunity to do that together. So that's one thing I'm looking forward to. And I see how we can be more together.
Like a question in the chat, do you think it's your positivity that's made your experience so good? I tend to think that probably doesn't hurt, that you know, you have all faced some pretty challenging situations, and you weren't alone, and you had a number of people that could support you, and then you could turn that into a completely different experience. Cynthia, you were going to say something?
No, just that I think that's a two-way street. Maybe we bring some positivity because we're resilient survivors. That's how I think of us. But also being a part of the patient's program enhances our positivity and reminds us how worthwhile everything we do or don't do matters.
If I may, oh, you ready? Go, Gail.
I'm sorry?
I thought Gail was going.
Yeah, I was going to say, in the genuine empathy of the entire team, because when I'm feeling down or when something's wrong, I think the team feels it and they encourage us. And if we don't show up, then somebody is calling to see what's going on. And you know, so when you actually have a team that cares. And it's not about work. It's not their job. It's the fact that they actually care. Mm-hmm. Then you can't help but feel positive. So when you're feeling down and they pick up on it and they help build you up, then yes, our positivity comes up because we became a family, and this is something that's genuine. And so this is something that we hope that we share with everybody, because you know that's what everyone needs right now, especially in this world. So when we can build up people to have that same sense of positivity, then, you know, we can make everything a lot better than what it is today.
And I think that also includes being hopeful. Positivity to me comes from being hopeful, knowing that there is potential. And, you know, when I wake up every morning and I'm still alive, I'm pretty positive and I'm hopeful.
I appreciate that, Cynthia. And I will say this, I'm probably not like, I know I'm not like Gail, because Gail was surprised at every time she kind of sort of stood up and spoke and she got the applause. I'm not surprised. I expected her to be able to do that, but I knew the Gail that was reluctant to go forward. I knew that Gail, as well as the one we see now. All right, now you guys are going to be totally shocked when I say this, but I have never been a person shy about speaking in front of a microphone. I know that shocks you. I know that you're stunned. However, I want to tell you why I think that is. I think that I'm one of those children whose mother expected a certain degree of performance, and I was able to be in an environment where that was nurtured. So have you guys have heard the saying that you should read to your children? Everyone's heard that. I can tell you, my mother read to me every single day when I was I can remember her doing this. And I also remember when I started to read back and she would correct me. I would be reading my Tom and Jane book, and it would say, see Sally go. And I would say that, and I would get that, the word THAT and what WHAT confused. My mother would not stand for it, and I would get corrected immediately. When you have that kind of attention and TLC and oversight from Jump Street, you almost turn out like this. And what I want to say to you, that's the way this program is. Lots of TLC, lots of oversight, lots of self-correction. We don't necessarily see it at this meeting here, but I know that behind the scenes, there's self-correction. When they're asking for our feedback and we give them feedback, you know we get feedback, right? They are then meeting with one another and they're making adjustments. We don't see it. We don't know about it. They're not getting their hands slapped in front of us, but it's going on. So what I want to share with you, I think, going forward is that the feedback that we provide, give it to them straight, be as honest and straightforward as you can be, and a very caring way, because that is what my mama did. Ta-da!
And I bet you do the same thing I do. My son is 46 years old and I still read to him.
I do grab you as you walk by. I say, hey, did you see this? And then I start. You're right. So you guys are all now forewarned. You know, if you see me coming, watch out and don't let me have a piece of paper in my hand.
Royce is looking at Zillow as we speak. Dell's going to scare him out of the neighborhood. Well, I want to thank everyone for participating, for asking great questions. DeJuan, did you have something you want to say?
I just wanted to share some things that kind of really echo what was previously said as it relates to how do we get other patients to be so positive. What you have heard, what was demonstrated was the level of shared values that we all have that's on the team, the shared governance where we hold each other accountable, the level of commitment to being an active listener to understand. That's some of the things that all of the team members constantly exhibit, to the point where we are willing to be a student, always opening to learn, having a level of compassion, respect, patience, dedication, and empowerment. These are kind of like I would say this is a big pot of soup that everybody, a part of the team, have their own unique item to add in that soup to make what it is you see this level of authentic engagement.
Well said, DeJuan. Thanks. Cynthia, did you have a final thought?
Oh, something DeJuan said really resonated with me. Every time I go to a patient's meeting, it's a new learning experience. And that's not always the expectation. But because we're a diverse, caring, open group who aren't afraid to say what we think, right, Dell? It's always a wonderful learning experience. And I think if, like me, you're 80 years old and can still say, I'm learning, that is just a gift. And that's one of the gifts the Patients Program gives me.
Yes.
Learning is moving forward, not looking back.
Yeah.
DeJuan also said earlier in our session today, he said something about at the community level agitating, and then he corrected himself and he said advocating. But I think he's actually both of those. He's agitating and advocating, and he meant exactly what he said. It was a slip up, but I heard him, and I know that that's what he's really doing. Okay, all right, and that's where we are. That's who we are too. So thank you, DeJuan.
And thank you for calling that out. And sometimes people may call it innovate, but it's agitate and advocate. We need all of the above.
And someone asked about how to make get their patients to be positive. I think the first step is being positive yourself. Model the behavior you want. And so agitate and activate and move on, DeJuan. You're doing great.
Yeah. A poet.
Thank you so much for attending. Thank you to our panel. Really great sharing your experiences and your stories. And thank you everyone that attended. I will be in touch. I'll send that distribution list. But again, thank you so much. And we'll send you more information about Patients Day and the Patients Professors Academy to those of you that are new. And thank you so much and have a wonderful day.